Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into Fantasy Hockey Picks and Bets presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Chris Meaney. Thanks for taking the time to hang out right here on the Mayo Media Network. If you can smash the like button, as our buddy Pat Mayo loves to say, we would greatly appreciate that. If you have a question, please leave it there in the YouTube section. We'll circle back before puck drop because, as I said on Monday, you just don't know who is going to rest in the NHL. And if you were paying attention to yesterday's game between the Capitals and the Bruins, there are a lot of people resting. We could be in a similar situation this evening. Just 6 games on the ice here tonight. And actually, I lied. 5 games on the ice here tonight. We got our buddy Neil Parker from FTN, RotoWire, and DraftKings Playbook. He does it all for us. He was fantastic on Monday, so looking forward to breaking down all the games with him on Wednesday for today, of course. And we have playoff matchups. So we'll talk to Neil about that in a little bit. But it is time for the Prize Picks play of the day. Follow the link inside the description of this video for a promo code, a 100% first deposit match when you use that promo code over at prizepicks.com. So there's only a handful of options here as of this morning, talking to you guys on a Wednesday morning. As we get closer to puck drop, we're going to see, I think, a few more players filter in. There'll be some save props and some shot props as well that I think we can attack over at Prize Picks. But as of now, there's just a handful of players. So Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews are sitting at 6. And if you've been paying attention all year, I've said, listen, if you ever see McDavid under 6, you just take him. So now he's at that 6-point mark where I'm a little hesitant to take the over on him, but we got there. On Monday, we got the over on Couturier as well. So let's hope to build on that with a couple other players. But honestly, if McDavid does play here tonight, I have no problem rolling with him. 33 goals, 102 points now on the season, 31 points over his last 11 games. He had at least 2 points in 11 of his past 12. So 2 points will get us to 5. If it's a goal and an assist, he'll be right there at 5.5. You get the half a point for a shot, 3 for a goal, and 2 for an assist. So honestly, he's right there for me if he does suit up, and I think he will play. But I'm going to lean with Brady Tkachuk at 3.5 and Mark Stone at 4. So Tkachuk against the Leafs, he's just a volume shooter. He's had 8 games against Toronto this season, hasn't really hit the score sheet all that often against the Leafs, but 34 shots on goal in 8 games. That's a solid floor there for the half point for a shot. So if he finds the back of the net, we're definitely there. You're going to get the 3.5 right there. He's going to get a lot of ice time. You got Frederik Andersen between the pipes for the Leafs. He hasn't played since March 19th. He hasn't looked good in the AHL conditioning stint as well. So who knows how sharp he is going to be this evening. But the Leafs do have something to play for, something small. It's called the President's Trophy if they care about that. It does seem like they're going to be at full health here tonight. But I'm going to take the over on Tkachuk and then the over on Mark Stone. Vegas also has something to play for. They have the tough loss against Colorado. They need a win here tonight, and Colorado for at least one loss against the Kings in their final 2 games for them to get that division. So it doesn't look like Max Pacioretty is going to play tonight, but Stone, a good matchup here. Going to get a lot of ice time. He's got 8 points in 8 games against the Sharks, 6 goals over that span as well. And he does have 8 points over his last 8 games. And we know all about the SJ Sharkies. We've been picking on him all year, inside the top 10 in terms of allowing high danger chances, scoring chances, goals against at 5 and 5 per 60 minutes. So check out Prize Picks a little bit later on in the day. Again, I'll circle back with a couple more plays if they do pop up here in the YouTube section. Good luck tonight. All right, let's bring in Neil Parker. Neil, what's up, man?
Not a whole lot, Chris. I mean, the season's winding down. I'm a little curious to see if they're going to allow the Canucks to finish out their season or exactly what's going to happen when they'd have 16 teams on a mini bye leading into the playoffs if they do. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with all that. But it's nice to see those playoff pictures sort of being finalized and the matchups upcoming. And yeah, I mean, let's just rock and roll through these games and make it happen.
Yeah, let's do it. Last night was weird. It was tough for me to put in a couple picks over at FTN. It's like, what do you do? I saw everybody rest from Boston. It's like, okay, well, let's roll with Jake DeBrusk. Why not? And I had to sweat that one out. I mean, I've never taken Jake DeBrusk in a shot prop, and I probably never will again unless the entire Bruins team is resting like we saw last night. So just the 5 games, Neil, and only 4 on DraftKings with the early start between the Habs and the Oilers. This game happening at 5 Eastern. So this is an early one, and let's just get after it right off the hop here, and maybe we can talk about some playoff matchups towards the end. But this game is meaningless. We have the Habs and the Leafs playing in the first round. First time since 1979 that these two teams are playing in the playoffs. And then the Oilers and the Jets after Winnipeg won last night against Vancouver. So this game, really, there's nothing on the line. Montreal may rest some players. Jake Allen in particular, I don't think is going to suit up for this game. We could see Jeff Petrie maybe take a seat. Tyler Toffoli potentially take a seat. Josh Anderson, I don't expect to play. On the other side, the Oilers, I noticed Connor McDavid looked like he didn't really suffer an injury, but he was looking at his hand towards the end of the game, and he didn't play in the final minutes once the Canadiens tied it up. And then in overtime, he hardly left the ice, and he scored the overtime winner. So this is basically a pick 'em here between these two teams with the total at 6, 24-31 against the spread for Montreal, 29-25 for the Oilers. I mean, if McDavid plays, it's hard not to play this guy tonight. You're going to have to play him in a single showdown, though, Neil.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that I look to right away, and it's been the same thing, and we talked about this on Monday. I mean, the Canadiens continue to play pretty well at 5-on-5. They generated more shot attempts on Monday. They created more high danger scoring chances on Monday, but ultimately they just fell short to the best player in the world. So I don't see, especially after you highlighted who could be in and who could be out for the Canadiens, if McDavid's in the lineup, I don't see how he's really going to be slowed down again by the Canadiens, and also it was Draisaitl and Nugent Hopkins had a good game on Monday too. So it's a 1-2 punch that's pretty tough to slow down, especially when you don't have your key cogs going and your best goaltenders in net, and maybe your best defenseman sitting out, and so not a lot to like from the Canadiens from my perspective. When Jake Evans and Paul Bryan and Terry Lehkonen are your go-to scoring line, you got a lot of things wrong or not going quite right. So leave it at that.
You got me in stitches here, man. That was probably the best game ever that Evans, Lehkonen, and Byron played. And honestly, they scored 3 goals at 5-on-5. Listen to this. This is crazy. It is ludicrous, and I don't think it could ever happen again. But against McDavid, so they played against McDavid 10 minutes and 52 seconds at 5-on-5. The shot attempts were 16-11 in favor of Montreal. The shots on goal 7-7. The high danger chances 5-2 in favor of Montreal, and 3 goals for the Habs. The expected goals 72.59% in favor of Montreal. Byron scored. Evans scored, Lehkonen scored. He actually scored twice. He went offside, and the other one, it was called back. They actually just dominated the McDavid line at 5-on-5. McDavid was -3. I was like, what the hell is going on here? And maybe just McDavid is just completely jinxed against the Habs. Now, he ended up scoring in overtime, and he had the 2 points, and he's been fine against Montreal this season. But compared to the other teams in the North, we've talked about this on Monday, and we've talked about it at length throughout this show. There's just something that happens with McDavid against the Canadiens where I guess he doesn't get 3 or 4 points like he gets in every single night. He's just human, I suppose, against Montreal. But that was the game of that trio played unbelievable that night. I don't expect that kind of performance again this evening from them. So you're absolutely dead on. Let's bring in Maddie. If the Habs are resting a bunch of guys here tonight, I mean, you knew I was going to come in with the McDavid 2-point night. He's at -125. We got it again. I mean, we've gotten this guy in 10 of the past 11 2-point nights. Maddie, -125 2-point night, McDavid, like lock it in.
I think that's my favorite bet of the night on this game as it is. I mean, if Toffoli does play, do you go back to the shot prop? Because I felt like he's burnt you more than he's been good for you lately, and he's joined my shit list.
Yeah, he's kind of joining mine too. We didn't even get it from Suzuki. Neither of the guys wanted to shoot the puck. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna go that way. I would like to see them give Toffoli a bit of a break. I think we talked about this on Monday. This is like the 5th straight week where they've had 4 games in a week. Montreal, it's like 24 games in 43 days. Like that stuff is just not done. It's not normal for that to happen to a team and to play all those games, and they missed a bunch of time with COVID, and it's not normal what's going to happen for the Canucks. What Neil said off the top of the show, like, are they going to play? I know they adjusted the schedule, but it's a lot of games here, and it's meaningless games for those two teams and what they've went through. So I think I'll shy away from most of the shot props in here, but McDavid and Draisaitl for a 2-point night seems good to me. Anything to add, Neil? Or just want to.
What about Cole Caulfield? I mean, he attempted 7 shots on Monday. He's shooting a lot. Sometimes there's that sneaky end result that he only registered 2 shots, but he attempted 7, right? So you get some unlucky blocks, or you miss the net slightly, you hit the post. So sometimes there can be some value there if you dig deeper into those underlying statistics. Oftentimes that's my go-to when looking at shot props is trying to find a guy who's had a lot of missed shots of late and just hope that there's some statistical correction there and he's able to register a shot instead of, it being a miss. So 7 shot attempts Monday, depending on what number you get, could be some good value there.
That's a good call because he won't sit. Like, he'll play. And he'll probably get a lot of ice time. I mean, 15:37 in his last game, and that was just 3 seconds shy of a career high for the guy. He's still young, but he has hit over 2.5 shots, Neil, in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. So he is. I mean, there's no question. This kid loves to shoot the puck. He's getting some power play time on that second unit. And I mean, he is tapping his stick for the puck. Like, he wants it.
Yeah.
Like he wants that puck, and he's a guy who loves to shoot it. So yeah, that's a great call. I'm not seeing him right now. North of the border, I have seen him pop up on Cool Bets, Bet365. He has been on there, but it's taken some time. So maybe you just want to wait that one out to get closer to puck drop. Again, that is an early start, but yeah, I kind of just overlooked him. I would take him over probably anyone actually in this game.
One, I don't know if you were watching the same broadcast as me or recently. I think it might have been Saturday night. I think the Leafs and Canadiens played Saturday night. Anyway, They were talking about his dad and how Cole Caulfield has Canadian connections. Anyway, they said his dad was a successful player, played with some NHLers and stuff growing up, and the scouting report wasn't fond of the passing the puck. And I mean, you can't score goals if you're passing the puck.
That's right. I was watching the broadcast, and I think like the very next play he passed it off in the slot, and it's like, wait,
beautiful pass. It was and I forget who fanned on it, but
Josh Anderson.
Yeah, it was a beautiful pass, and it's it's pretty fun.
It's going to be interesting to see how he adjusts, because he's super small. He is very, very small out there, but he finds those soft areas. He does a really good job of that. I've already noticed that in the couple weeks of watching him play, is that he gets into open areas, and he really does like to shoot the puck. So it's a great call there. So McDavid, a 2-point game, and Cole Caulfield, if you can find it, at 2.5 shots. That may even be plus money. I can't imagine that being anything worse than like minus 120 or something like that, minus 125. It go as high as minus 135, 140 for over 2.5 shots for Cole Caulfield. So as we transition, Leafs and Senators here. So we'll save the talk for Montreal and Toronto at the very end and a couple playoff matchups. We'll roll through these games. Toronto and Ottawa here. The Sens plus 165. Man, they're playing some really good hockey, Neil. We have talked a lot about the Senators, haven't we, Matt? Like, Eric Young didn't join us here on Monday. We had Neil jump in for him. But Eric Young just can't get enough of the Sens. We've had just so much fun betting this hockey team. They're 7-2-1, 49 points, tied with the Flames. So they played 3 more games than them. They have not been a pushover, Neil. As you know, they played the Canadiens, the Flames, and the Leafs. Very tough here this season. Minus 195 for Toronto. Would you lean with the upset here? It does seem like, we chatted before, it does seem like the Leafs will be at full health here tonight, though.
Yeah, I think one of the big things with Toronto is it's the exact same as what we've seen with Vegas, where Vegas isn't able to ice a full team. Toronto's made some transactions. I believe the salary cap genius is named Brandon Pittum or whatever his name is, but he's got things under control there. So the Leafs actually, transferred Zach Hyman to long-term injury relief, and they've got that opportunity to ice a full team. So I suspect they will. And I don't think there's any reason to rest guys. Matthews seems to be over the wrist injury that was sort of haunting him. So I definitely like Toronto. I know that there's obviously a lot of let's call it, there's some things up in the air with Frederik Andersen, right? I mean, we're not sure. Like you mentioned, March 19th, his 6 starts before finally being shut down with that lower body injury. He had an .862 save percentage and .384 goals against average with just 1 win in those 6 starts. So like you said, didn't play well in the AHL, but I'm not going to rush to the window to put any of my hard-earned dollars on the Ottawa Senators.
Matt, will you?
So I gave out the Senators on last Saturday for my Sunday best bet when the team was 8-1-1 over their last 10, and giving up only 1.6 goals per game while scoring 3.4. Yeah, it made me look like a dumbass. I'm not betting the Sens. I did it once publicly, and I won't do it again.
Yeah, that's fair. I probably won't either, as much as we pick them quite often on this show. They've been good to us, man. They've been plus 180, plus 220 multiple times. They were plus 255 one night where they just shut out the Habs. They have been decent to us. I would consider maybe them on the puck line not to lose by 2 against the Leafs, but like Neil said, full health, all systems go. You know that they're going to want to play for Frederik Andersen too, Neil. Like, we can laugh about that narrative all we want, but they're going to want to show up for Andersen and maybe get a win for him tonight. Austin Matthews has cleared 3.5 shots in 9 straight games. You're right. The wrist does look healthy. And over his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games against the Sens, he's coming in here with a 7-game point streak against Ottawa. There's only one game this season where he hasn't had a point against the Sens. It came earlier in the year. He was actually a -3 in that hockey game and only had 3 shots. But that's all out the window, man, because he's got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 goals over this 7-game run. And he's got 4, 5, 6, 10, 13, 14, 15, 16 points doing it on the fly, of course. 16 points over a current 7-game point streak. He's in play for a 2-point night as well, Neil.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at if you're going all in, looking for sort of a contrarian stack at DraftKings, I kind of look at the Leafs #1 power play unit. Ottawa's a middle of the road penalty kill team, definitely, but the Leafs have finally, Sheldon Keefe is finally committed to having a stacked #1 unit. I am always in favor of putting your 5 best players on the ice at the same time and trying to score goals when you are up a man. And I don't know why there's so many coaches who like to try to balance the 2 units, but the Leafs do have Marner's Matthews, Nylander, and Tavares going. Nylander, 7-game point streak since he's returned from COVID protocol. Tavares, 21 points through his past 17 games. We've got the Mariners and Matthews combo that's been absolutely dominant. So you can actually fit all 4 of those forwards in, have exposure to both of Toronto's top 2 lines, and still ice a semi-competitive lineup around them. And the only thing I'm going to add to that, Chris, is the Leafs have the 2nd lowest shooting percentage, power play shooting percentage, 4.4 shooting percentage with the man advantage through their past 25 games. And the only team worse is the Anaheim Ducks. I actually take that as something that's obviously going to correct itself moving forward. And I really like that Toronto gets things going with the man advantage heading into the playoffs, because that's obviously, as we know, really important to playoff games and can really swing momentum in games. And Toronto has the star power, has the firepower, has the offensive talent in those 4 players to climb up the leaderboard in power play percentage in the playoffs, considering how poorly they've done of late.
That's a good call, because we've been wondering what the hell's going on with the power play. I mean, they have so much skill, and part of it, I think, was what you alluded to off the top, is just balancing it out between 2 units. But why? Why do that? Why not just put them all on the ice and score the damn goal right away? Because there's so much skill and so much talent. I think it was only a matter of time before they turn it around. Canadiens fans should be pretty nervous about the Leafs power play, even though it has struggled here over the past couple months. You don't want to be giving that team opportunities, because, like I said, it's only a matter of time before those pucks start to, find the back of the net. So yeah, it's a good call. I mean, I was looking too on how to fit those guys in. And you've been writing for DK Sportsbook, you've been writing for RotoWire, you've been writing daily game-by-game previews for us over at ftndaily.com. And I just feel like Tavares and William Nylander on DraftKings and FanDuel, more particular DraftKings, these guys have been underpriced all year, Neil. Like, again,
yeah, and
Tavares, 6'3", Matthews or Marner or Nylander is 5'3". What the hell's going on there?
Yeah, they're definitely underpriced, in my opinion. It's considering how well they played. And Galchenyuk really now has something to prove too. So what I like about that power play stack is that you're kind of all in, but you do get exposure to both of the top 2 lines at even strength as well. And, to go for a 1-line stack, you got to add Joe Thornton. Great. We love Joe Thornton. Yes, he brings the cap hit down a bit, but I'm not really confident that he's going to continue to put points on the board. And then Galchenyuk's been hit or miss. He's got a lot to prove, a lot of motivation for him right now, because he could be watching games from the press box come game one of the playoffs. So he really needs to put forth a big game. So I could see that very affordable Tavares, Nylander, Galchenyuk stack, and they've been extremely dangerous. I mean, Galchenyuk, for everything you can say about him over the last 4 or 5 years, he has been dangerous offensively for the Toronto Maple Leafs since getting into a top 6 role. The only other thing I'm going to say about him is that, there's been a lot of they've pinpointed him for poor defensive coverage and back checking and stuff. But sometimes I think it's just not quite being 100% familiar with their defensive coverage and their defensive strategies for the Leafs. There's been a couple times where he's looked over to Tavares, thinking Tavares should take the back check or should be the first back checker. And then next thing you know, Tavares isn't. And so he's busting across. I've seen that 2 or 3 times. So I really think that Galchenyuk can cement himself into a top 6 role going to the playoffs and have an impact for the Leafs.
Yeah, the games that I've watched, I've been impressed with the Galchenyuk. He looks like the Galchenyuk of old with the Canadiens when he came onto the scene as an 18-year-old kid. And got to remember, this guy had a 30-goal season before he even turned 21 and a 20-goal season before he even turned 20. So there's no question he can score. And that's just been the knock on him, Neil. A lot of people like to pick on his defensive play and where he is and maybe some of the penalties that he takes. I know he's taken a couple of them as well over the past couple of days, but the effort has been there. And that's one thing people can knock on him too. But I've seen it. I've seen him, back check, first guy back, trying not to turn the puck over and making sure, that pucks get out of their zone. So I'm, like I said before, Matt, bring you into, what do you think about Galchenyuk? And, I've said this before, this is a kid that I'm rooting for, man. This feels like his last opportunity in the NHL, and he's in a good spot to succeed.
Galchenyuk's looked smart on the ice, I think is the best way to put it. He hasn't put himself out there to try and be like a one-man highlight reel or anything like that. He knows his role, and like you said, he knows this is like his last chance to do anything. So he's willing to just park his ass in front of the net if that's what it takes. Or he's willing to just set up plays instead of being the superhero that has to put the puck in the net. I think this comes with a lot of just like self-realization for Galchenyuk, to the point that you made of, oh shit, I better do something here, because if this is it, if I can't stick on with the potent forwards that the Maple Leafs have, no one's going to give me a shot.
Yeah, because Nick Foligno is a game time decision. He could return. Zach Hyman is close to playing as well. So does that mean Hyman goes to the third line? Does he go back up? Does Foligno play in the third line? Because he was playing kind of in Hyman's role. So there's a couple moving pieces, but I think the bottom line, Neil, is what you talked about, is that the effort and playing for something and wanting to play against his former team in the first round, all those things are certainly going to play. So I think we'll see another former team tonight against the Sens for a minute he played there.
Yeah.
I think we'll see full effort from him tonight. But Austin Matthews is plus 165 for a 2.9, people. That one I like. Sign me up. Okay, let's move on from the Leafs. Enough, guys. Vegas and San Jose. Got the Sharks at home plus 170. The Golden Knights minus 200. The total here is at 6. As I said off the top, there is something to play for here for Vegas, but Colorado holds their own fate. If they win out, the West is theirs. It doesn't matter what Vegas does. So they hold the tiebreaker there. So Vegas, 55 games. This is their final game of the season. San Jose's final game of the season as well. The Sharks 3-5-2 in their last 10. Vegas 7-3-1. So they win this, and Colorado finds a way, or LA finds a way to get, one of possible 4 points in the final 2 games here. Then it will be their division. So I expect Vegas to be full go too. But Neil, they were completely shorthanded in the last game. And I thought that they really took it to Colorado. They probably should have won that game on Monday.
Yeah, and obviously, as we talked Monday in this show, now Vegas comes back with their superior goalie, right? So, or in our opinion, Marc-Andre Fleury's won 8 straight, 1.64 goals against during that stretch, a 938 save percentage, right? So
he's been awesome.
Yeah, and one thing I do like, and this goes to daily contests too, is that the Sharks, they generate offense, they attack, they shoot the puck a lot. So that should help Fleury's saves and saves add fantasy points up quicker than anything, really. So something to look at there with Fleury. I think he's a strong play in DFS, regardless if the Golden Knights are a little shorthanded. We'll see how it all falls into place tonight. But The Sharks have nothing to play for, and the Golden Knights, as you mentioned, do, and they've got Fleury in net, 8 straight wins. Yeah, I'm leaning heavy to the Golden Knights and happy to back Fleury in DFS contests.
Yeah, and he's only 8K. I mean, Grubauer is 8.5. Anderson is 8.1. So it's not like you have to spend a pretty penny on Fleury. And I agree. We all agree here that Fleury is the guy. We expect him to be the guy. And as you brought up Monday, a fantastic question is, are they going to go game for game? It remains to be seen. I don't think that they should, but we'll see. We'll wait that one out. Yeah, Vegas has had a lot of success against San Jose this season. They're coming off a 5-2 win. They had a 3-2 shootout win. They had a 5-4 win, a 2-1 win. So they have won 5 straight games against them. Most 3 of the 5 have been puck line games. Matt, you're a puck line game. Got to bring you in. Vegas puck line, or are you concerned?
No,
short-handed guys.
I'm all in on Vegas tonight. I think this is my bet of the night in terms of just they should win, but knowing me and they should win calls, they won't win. Puck line is what I'll go for here. Minus 200, I don't really want it, but on the puck line, I don't have the lines in front of me, is what I'll be dabbling in. I think, like you guys said, Fleury is the guy into the playoffs, and it's not even close. However, in DFS, I do expect him to be the chalkiest goaltender. Just based on his price compared to guys like Grubauer and Freddie Anderson at 8-1. Although I don't think anyone's going to play Freddie, but I think every single person is going to play Fleury tonight.
Yeah, so that sets up. Sorry, I was going to say that sets up as a great pivot, right? Then, like, if you want to pivot to Anderson, yeah.
Anderson makes for I think he's an interesting tournament option because of how hot the Sens have been, and Anderson hasn't played in a while, and it's well documented, really, what his struggles before the injury. And if you're living anywhere close to Toronto or north of the border, all about the struggles, and then even in the conditioning stint there as well. So yeah, I think he probably will be chalky, but I don't think it really matters. In goal, it's fine, I think. But yeah, puck line for Vegas, best odds I'm seeing. Free parlay calculator over ftmbets.com, plus 120. So it's not bad. Can definitely get behind that one. We can move on here. If Pacioretty does find a way to play, I'd feel good about a 2-point night for Mark Stone. He's plus money as well for a 2-point night, but I'd like to see Patches back in the lineup. But from a shot prop standpoint, all these guys hit for us on Monday. We mentioned Marchessault. I think we mentioned Theodore. I don't know if we put him in there and at the end, but we had Theodore, Tuck, and Marchessault over at FTN Bets. All those guys are at 2.5. Man, Neil, what do you think about Alex Tuck, man? One of the best third line players in the league.
Yeah, I know that you're a big fan of him, and I just think that he's, solid. The one thing that I find really odd, and I don't know why it is, but like when we see him jump up into the lineup, into the top 6, it's like, he'll get like a 3-game trial because someone's injured, and he'll score 1 game and then have 2 blanks, right? Like, it's weird that he doesn't, like, I don't know if it's because he's facing softer on ice matchups down the lineup, but it just feels like, and I could be totally wrong, this is just based on my observation over the last couple of years, when he does get promoted into that top 6 role, that he doesn't actually cash in on his opportunities. I really like Tuck, and one of the things that I kind of forgot, but you just reminded me when we were kind of discussing Mark Stone off air, is that I think it was Marchessault that played most of the 5-on-5 minutes with Stone and Stevenson on Monday night. So that's really not a big downgrade as I originally suspected, because they did switch up their lines. So Stone, Marchessault, Stevenson isn't as dire as I kind of thought it might be, because rarely do the Golden Knights break up William Karlsson, Riley Smith, and Jonathan Marchessault. But back to Tuck, I mean, he gets things done down the lineup, and he's always an affordable DFS option. And I know that you've gone to his shot props a lot over the past couple months. So
Yeah, he's been plus money. You sitting here, he's not on the board yet, but he'll show up later. I think they'll probably just wait on Pacioretty or whatnot. No, I've noticed that too. When he gets into, I've had this conversation before. We'll just bring in Mike Omal on.
Mikey O,
Mikey O,
baby.
He's a big Vegas guy late at night. He likes to watch the Golden Knights, and he said the same thing. We were talking about Tuck when we want him to get into a top 6 role, but yet when he gets into that role, it doesn't seem like he has the same sort of success, and that's weird. It may have something to do with what you said. The matchups are not as soft, and maybe he's definitely just the trigger guy on that line. There was a moment where I saw him play with. He took Pacioretty's spot, and Stone was trying to feed him the puck the same sort of way, but it's like Tuck was trying to give it back to him, but yet when he's on the third line, he's the guy. He's the guy with the puck on his stick, and he's shooting. But I'd liked Marchessault on that top line as opposed to Janmark, right? Like put Marchessault there and get him going. He's got 9 shots in his past 2 games, and he's cleared 2.5 shots in 3 of his past 4, but Tuck has 10 shots in his past 2 games. He's a guy that I like a lot. And then Theodore, if I had to choose one, it would be Marchessault. But I think all 3 are definitely in play. It's just too bad you can't parlay them all. You can just take them as singles or mix and match if you want to, but there's no question Marchessault's in play. But he's just going to be, just let me check quick time. I think he's going to be probably like minus 160. Yeah, he's minus 167. So you're just going to get better odds with Tuck. And better odds with Theodore. You could probably get Tuck at plus money. Okay.
Theodore just recently leapfrogged Dougie Hamilton for shot attempts per 60 minutes to lead all regular defensemen. Like he's quietly just an absolute locked in power play stud. Like I can't believe like Anaheim let Theodore go to keep everyone else. Like it's just, anyway. I mean, we don't need to get too deep into that one, but
only because Matt, we had this conversation like 5 days ago, didn't we?
Yeah, it was just like, if you look back on it now, it's very confusing how you let them do that or how they did that to themselves.
Vatanen, Manson, yeah, they just like, no, Fowler, no, we want to keep these guys. You guys just leave them for us and you can have Shea Theodore. He was one of my favorite defensemen in the entire league. I love the way he moves the puck. He skates so well. He's got such a great offensive mind. He played 29 minutes the other night against the Avs, 26 the couple nights before against the Blues. I know they were shorthanded, but 29 minutes. And he was just on the ice for like the final 5 minutes, and it didn't even look like he was tired at all. But yeah, he's cleared 3. He's cleared 2.5 shots in 5 of his past 6 games. So I definitely think that he's in play. Yeah. Neil, we should do another. I know we did this before years ago. I think we did a show together where we tried to guess who would be on Vegas's team.
Yeah,
we were right about some things. We were completely wrong about a lot.
Yeah,
just like here you go. Here's Marchessault, Riley Smith. Here's William Karlsson. Here's Alex Tuck. Tuck is another one. Minnesota was protecting all their players. Here's Tuck. Just take them. And Theodore's another one. I'd imagine some teams are going to learn from that lesson when Seattle goes to do their expansion draft, but I would at the same time, they're probably going to get a few decent players because of teams protecting certain guys that they maybe misjudge. So it'll be interesting to see that. I can't wait for that to all go down. Next game in here, St. Louis and Minnesota, the Blues at home. So nothing here on the line. I suppose Minnesota can get that number 2 spot in the West, but I don't expect the Avs to lose 2 games to LA. So Minnesota minus 114 and LA or St. Louis here minus 103, the total at 6. And I don't really have a strong feel here. This could be another situation where maybe Kaprizov takes a seat, maybe O'Reilly takes a seat. It's tough, but Kaprizov, if he does play, this guy's just been so good to us in terms of shot props. He's been automatic now for the past 2 months, I'd like to say. He would be the guy that I'd like to plug in there, but we'll let you take it away. Do you have a feel here between the Wild and the Blues?
No, and it's sort of been that way all year with these 2 teams. Like we've seen the Wild go on some amazing stretches, but then I look at their depth chart and I'm just kind of like, really? Like
I know.
I can't get too excited about these fellas, Like I get Kaprizov's been, sort of almost electric, right? Like he's been a dynamic scorer and highlight reel player, but at the end of the day, I'm not confident that against a top defense unit and a shutdown forward line that he's going to get it done, right? And I would have to think that the St. Louis Blues would try to counter with Ryan O'Reilly. So yeah, it's tough to get a feel. And the Blues, we talked about this on Monday. It's just they've been injured all year. Their lineup is never the same. They're mixing and matching here, there, and everywhere. At one point last week, I was kind of intrigued by the Mike Hoffman, Robert Thomas, Jordan Kyrou line. Almost for the first half of the season, Kyrou was leading the team in points per 60 minutes, or right up there in points per 60 minutes, but he couldn't consistently play in the top six. Just a lot of frustrating lineup decisions, and then add the injuries on top for the Blues, and they're really hard to project. Looks like Torrey Krug's back, obviously, so I'm just waiting for him to find his form quarterbacking that number one power play unit. They just have been so inconsistent, almost both teams, that it's hard to really lock in and target them in DFS. The only other thing I'll just add before I turn it back to you or Matt, Chris, is, it's really disappointing to see Matt Dumba not jump up into that sort of near elite or elite fantasy production, and because it looked like that before his sort of season-ending injury a couple years ago. He was just on the verge of becoming a dominant force, and it just hasn't quite progressed the way I sort of expected.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Last year was disappointing, and this season too. I mean, he does have a few points lately, but that's it. Like he's been underwhelming, and I've noticed Jared Spurgeon has just taken that leap forward. Spurgeon has points in 4, 5, 6, 7 of his past 9 games. He's been a strong player on the blue line. He's blocking some shots. He's got 7 blocks in his past 3 games. Not a ton of power play points. He only has 2 power play points over this run, but he is getting a lot of points. So those points that I thought Dumba would get, the production from Dumba, it seems like it's Jared Spurgeon who's getting all that production. So he would be the guy if you are looking for maybe a defenseman from this game. But I don't actually see a lot of goals. Man, Cam Talbot has been awesome so far this season. He's locked in. He's going to get this start. He's got a 2.59 goals against average and a 9.16 save percentage. He's got 2 shutouts. I know that the Blues have played to a lot of overs, maybe because of just uncertainty with their lines, not getting the same sort of goaltending from Binnington. And then again, what we said so many times, and I hate to even bring it up, is just Pietrangelo away from this team. But maybe some guys rest here. Maybe they just kind of mail it in, just similar to last night's game between Washington and Boston. That was a very, very tough game to watch. And believe me, I watched a little bit of it. So maybe we just see the under hit. That's kind of my lean, under 6. Matt, do you have a feel? I mean, these two teams have been tough, right? I think we all agree that Minnesota is slightly overrated. We love Kaprizov, and that the Blues are just a complete mess. You just don't know what to expect.
It just feels weird because Minnesota can play Vegas real tight, but when they go to other teams, like I don't know what to bet on them. Minnesota's been a team that I haven't bet on for a money line unless they're playing the Ducks, unless they're playing the Kings or something like that. It's
a sweat job.
It is, and like even then, I don't have the stones to play them like against a Blues team in the middle of the season when the Blues are struggling, just because I don't have a read on this Wild team even going into the playoffs. Props, yeah, they're a lot of fun. We had a bunch of guys on there that were automatic because the lines were just wrong, whether it's 1.5 shots on our guy or if it's 2.5 shots at plus money for Kaprizov. It just felt like the props were always set wrong, but the lines were always set right, to the point where I don't know what to do. And like you guys were saying, it feels like they're a little overrated, but they're a fantasy shot prop darling team.
And they are going to be a tough out. As much as we're talking about them being slightly overrated, I mean, they're not going to get that game at home. They're just such a complete different. I mean, they're 21-5-2 at home. They're so dominant on home ice. Man, I got to get to a game of Mini. I love the atmosphere there. I like that horn. But yeah, they're still going to be a tough out, whether they play Colorado or they play Vegas. I have a lean to the under. I don't even want to tell you the last 5 games, 4 of them have gone over pretty easily. There was a 9-1 win in there for Minnesota against St. Louis. So a lot of the games have gone over between these two teams, but I just have this feel under 6. I don't think Talbot lets in a couple. And I watched the Blues play the Kings the other night, Neil, and it was just such a, let's get to the red line and dump it in. Let's get to the red line and dump it in. It was almost like they just we're locked into a playoff spot now. Forget these 2 games. Let's just get through them. And I wonder if that has the same sort of feel tonight. So,
well, is there really any, like, there's a little bit of a pre-existing division rivalry there, but at the end of the day, like we've seen throughout the course of the season, even I can remember watching Toronto and Calgary games where it's just like there is no interest in this game. Like, oh, I missed the pass. Oh well, turn around and change. Whoops, there you go. Okay, all right. Well, okay, la-di-da, head to the bench. Like, like there's just it happens. And I mean, especially I think has happened a few more times for teams and in games where there's just that lack of compete level and disinterest because they're playing so much hockey in such a short time frame, right? So you're gonna mail, like, let's say every team on a regular 82 game schedule mails it in 10 times a year, right? I mean, that's realistic.
Yep.
10 times a year, they just mail it in and they're done. So now it's a shortened season. Anyway, there's really not a lot to play for. I can't, I could definitely see this being a lackluster sort of 3-2 game, and there you get your under, right?
Yeah, and I think, I should have hammered home this point on Monday, is that with these teams, with these players resting and not a lot to play for, and just a lot of uncertainty, when it's so tough to bet hockey and pick sides anyways, that shot props just seem like the way to go. And even if Ryan O'Reilly does play in a great defensive forward, Kaprizov's hit the over 2.5 shots in 12 straight games here. So let's make it a lucky 13 to round out the season and help pay the bills here. But I think the Calder is locked up. Does the kid want to play? Sure, he wants to play. But if you're Minnesota too, like, we need you. If we're going to pull off the upset, we need you. Maybe we want to take a seat. So keep an eye on that as we get closer to puck drop. The final game here is Colorado and LA. I mean, Colorado's minus 360 here. There's been some ludicrous spreads here this season with just these mismatches on paper. 21 and 33 against the spread for the Avs. The total here is 5.5 plus 295 for LA. If Grubauer plays, I can't see the Kings getting to past 2 goals. Grubauer's just been so rock solid. They need these games, as we talked about earlier. Colorado has a chance here to get this division. They want the division. There's no question these kids will be all systems go here against LA this evening. The Kings have given them a bit of a tough time in terms of just like bottling up the neutral zone. There was a couple games there I watched this season where Colorado couldn't really find anything offensively, and give LA a lot of credit there as well. But this does seem like, like a 4-1 potential win for the Avs. I mean, if you're going to do it, I think it's puck line. I'm not going to get behind the Kings. Is this even on your card here, Neil, with these odds being so crazy?
Yeah, I don't think there's much value, right?
No.
Especially if, I mean, they play the game for a reason. Upsets happen every single night in every sport. So, like, what's the advantage to, I don't know. I just don't, that's my personal approach. I don't look for that big of a home favor, or sorry, I think they are at home too, aren't they? Yeah, they're at home. I don't look at those. Favorites. Yeah. Like, I don't look at those favorites because I think they're exaggerated lines to begin with. The probability doesn't actually line up. And because, oftentimes the public loves to parlay favorites, it gets even more beat up. The line does, right? So you're even further away from the expected winning percentage, just because of how heavy people do bet favorites. With all that being said, obviously we'd have to lean towards the Avalanche. Just a sneaky DFS play that sort of popped up during my morning round through the prices is Alex Newhook.
Yeah, nice.
Obviously, he had a great World Junior tournament for Team Canada. He's playing on the second line with Kadri and Andre Burakovsky, and he's got 3 assists through 4 games. 2 assist game last time out. And the only thing I will add to that is that he didn't receive power play time Monday, and he's a low shot volume guy. 11 attempts and only how many did he register? 3 shots. So 11 attempts and 3 shots through 4 games. So not a ton of fantasy floor there. I don't imagine you'd find him in a shot prop, Chris, but maybe. And anyway, low price flyer for DFS, top 6 role, and obviously very talented. Should get a good look because he could be a candidate to remain in a top 6 role for the Avalanche in the playoffs. So I definitely like to point out him.
Yeah, he hasn't looked out of place. He was 2.5 when he made his debut. He wasn't on DraftKings, I noticed, but then the very next game that he played, he was 2.5 and he's sitting there at 2.7. So yeah, great call out by you. I was going to bring him up as well. Yeah, fresh off the 2-point game. And like I said, he doesn't look out of place, man. And he's getting an opportunity here in that top 6 to skate with some decent players in Kadri and Burakovsky. I don't see him on shot props, unfortunately. I do see Rannon and McKinnon, but they are just completely juiced. 3.5 shots for McKinnon is minus 200. No thanks. So the last 4 games, Colorado has beaten LA, but they have been tight. 2-0, 4-1, 3-2, 3-2. Those 3-2 games were recently. So like I said, you got to give the Kings some credit here for hanging around with this Avs team. So it may give you a little bit of pause on the puck line, but I think I'm going to get behind it. I could see like I said, a 4-1 victory here. Maybe you sweat it out, a 3-1. Maybe we get that empty net and we get that cushion there for the 2-goal win. So I will lean with the Avs, but I think it's a 2-point night for some of these guys. We mentioned McDavid, a 2-point night, minus 120. Austin Matthews, a 2-point night, plus 165. McKinnon, a 2-point night, plus 120. Ranton at a 2-point night is has dominated the Kings all year long in terms of possession numbers and shot attempts, and they've had a lot of opportunities against LA. So that will do it, man. Those are the games. Those are the ones. The playoff matchups are set. I wanted to get your guys' thoughts since you guys are, big Leaf guys. Habs and Leafs, 1979. I was just having some fun and taking a look at the year 1979, guys. So ESPN launched broadcast. We're all familiar with ESPN. Pink Floyd released The Wall. I'm sure we're all familiar with that album. Sony Walkman was introduced, and it was going for $200 a pop. The average month cost of rent, $280, slightly more than the cost of a Walkman. Kramer versus Kramer, the number 1 movie. My Sharona from the Knack, the number 1 song. Seattle Supersonics, NBA champs. The Pittsburgh Pirates, World Series champs. And the Habs and the Leafs, the last time that those 2 teams played each other in the playoffs. And also a little nugget, every time that they have played each other in the playoffs, one of the 2 has gone on to win the Stanley Cup. And I think the Leafs have a better shot at doing it than the Habs. Neil, what do you think of this series, man? It's just going to be fun to watch. I mean, I've never seen it in my lifetime.
No, obviously I haven't either. I think we got robbed of it in 93.
We did.
So
yes.
Anyway, I'm old enough to remember that. So, I'm pretty optimistic about the Leafs' chances to come out of the North Division just because of their success against Edmonton earlier this season, and because of their depth, the supporting cast who are fighting for that 6th defense spot, a spot on the 4th line. They're NHL players, to have the luxury of having Ben Hutton sitting there and Rasmus Sundin and Zach Bogosian hopefully back, and Dermott's played enough over the last few years. Like, that's a really, did I just list 4 guys for 2 spots? Yeah. I think I did, maybe 5 guys, right? So that's a really nice luxury for Toronto that I think enables them to have and to make a deep playoff run. I don't know what's going on with the Habs. I think that expectations sort of elevated because of their early season success. I've said it Monday, I said it earlier. They are playing well 5-on-5. Just by controlling possession and driving possession. But sometimes I wonder if that's more just because they're shooting the puck a lot and attempting a lot of shots versus really, generating high danger and quality chances, right? And I know that they have generated a lot of high danger chances. They're 7th at 5-on-5 in the league. So that's obviously excellent. But Toronto's 2nd, Yeah. So, I don't think that, barring some notable collapse in net, and I think that is the biggest question mark for Toronto, but similar to their forward core and their defense core, they got 3 goalies who have notable NHL experience. So even if it comes down to David Rittich, I think they can beat the Habs with him. I don't think they can beat Edmonton with Rittich, but we'll see.
Yeah, goaltending is the one question. The Habs have been a strong 5-on-5 team for years. They were inside the top 5 in all the categories, the high danger categories, the shot attempts, controlling the puck, shots on goal. It was just them in Vegas last year. Out of all the teams and 24 teams to play in the bubble, they were the only two that were inside those top 5, and just those metrics that we like to look at and that we talk about a lot on this show, and they have been this season. But the goals have dried up, and since March 1st, 1.99 goals for per 60 at 5-5. That is the 5th worst mark in the league. So the offense has dried up. I think they're going to get a little healthy at the time of these two teams playing, but it's going to be tough for them. So Colorado sitting here today, plus 450. We'll do a preview show here, so we won't spend too much time, but plus 450 Colorado, Vegas plus 550, and then Toronto 6-1, Carolina 7-1, Lightning 8-1, and Boston to round it out at 10-1. Matt, we'll get your thoughts on Leafs and Habs. This is cool, man. It's a neat storyline. We haven't seen it in forever. These are two storied franchises. I think it's going to be a fun and entertaining series. I give the edge, of course, to Toronto, but I think it's going to be entertaining hockey.
Yeah, it's going to be probably the most entertaining round of hockey out of all the matchups that are going on. I mean, another notable one that'll be fun will be Florida and Tampa, but I think
First
this
time
one
ever
is
for those two teams.
Yeah, I think this one is just historically fun. Like you said, I wasn't alive for any of that stuff. I mean, I like all that stuff, but I was clearly not alive, and I was 1 year old in No, I was dead. I was not alive. I don't even know how old I am at this point.
Didn't even get to see the Habs win the Cup in 93.
No, I got the Rangers is what I got to see in 94. The one thing I will say about these Leafs is the addition of Joe Thornton, and especially the addition of Nick Foligno, is what makes me way more confident this year and not blindly optimistic compared to years past, because the Leafs play in the playoffs has been criticized openly by other teams, including Nick Foligno, just about how soft they are. Like, once you get in behind them, you can do basically whatever you want with them. Having Nick Foligno play at the level that Foligno always plays, that grit, that grind, and having Zach Hyman back for the playoffs will just be incredible for this team. However, Neil, don't speak David Riddick into existence here. We don't want this for this Toronto Maple Leafs team. There's a lot of goalies that I'd love to see start for the Leafs in the playoffs, but you're right. I think against Montreal, Riddick could win, but man, if he has to start against Edmonton, I don't want that at all. Let's just not have that anywhere ever, please.
Big save, Dave. Let's go.
I can't believe they even called him that in Calgary. They make too many big saves. Matt, are you even old enough to have you seen the Leafs win a playoff round?
Shh.
I'm kidding. All right, we'll do a playoff preview show here when we get closer to it all. Of course, we'll cover a lot of it over at FTN as well. If you're looking to be part of the FTN fam, use that promo code Mayo or Meaney. We'll be giving picks, as I mentioned, all the way until that Stanley Cup is raised. We'll have some betting previews for every single round, as well as we'll be giving out shot props and all that stuff throughout the entire postseason. If you guys been following along in the show, I had Vegas and Colorado as futures. One of those teams are going to get bounced early, unfortunately, but at the same time, one of them pretty good shot to make it to the third round. Also, we have futures on this show from Carolina at 14-1. I think maybe I may have to hedge with the Leafs because I believe that they have the easiest path to the third round, even if they do have to play Connor McDavid and the Oilers in here next. So anything to add, Neil, from a DraftKings standpoint? I know we went over it. It's just the 4-game slate here today. Maybe to get unique would be to attack that second line in Toronto. You mentioned the power play. You can get in that power play and maybe take some value with Newark, some Colorado guys in there potentially. I think I would stay away from Minnesota and St. Louis. I think that could be an under, but maybe the game to attack really is just a game stack the Leafs in the Sens. I think we could see some offense there.
Yeah, for sure. Batherson, Drake's only 4-4. He's playing on the top line, top power play unit with Tkachuk and Josh Norris. So I definitely always like to support my boy Drake, and he's having a heck of a season, and he showed up against the Leafs this year a few times.
He showed up against a lot of teams this year. Will you hit the links with Drake in the summer?
Hopefully this summer we'll see him at the course. But the big thing I think that is he's that boomer bust type guy, so it keeps his salary low. But he's had a number of multi-point games. I'll total them up here. Yeah, he's had 10 multi-point games this season, so the upside is obviously there to with anyone. It's just that there is that sort of lower floor, but he hasn't played in top line role all year either. So, if the Leafs mail it in, if Freddie's not good, not sharp, then I could see that top line for Ottawa making a difference. And he's obviously a great price at 4-4.
17 goals and 34 points in 55 games for Drake Batherson. A hell of a season for him. Okay, Matt, what do you got from Monday's show? How'd we do?
All right, for the final live show for Fantasy Hockey Picks and Bets, in terms of just giving out bets and all that fun stuff, you went 4-3. Edmonton money line hit. Carolina money line missed. Edmonton under missed. We've got the Blues money line. You got the New York Islanders and the Bruins under hit. The under in Winnipeg hit, and the Tampa Bay, Florida over did not. 4-3, like I said. 151 and 113 is your record to end the show here. Shot props. We only started those, about a third of the way into the season? I think we started tracking them, but we were giving them out all year long. 4-1 to end it. Kyle Connor hit for you. Tyler freaking Toffoli missed. Bennett was a scratch. Robertson, Marchessault, Couturier all hit for you. 4-1, 87 and 53 on the shot props.
Nice. We're at 60 units over at FTN for just props alone. It's been a fun year when it comes to shot props. And again, guys, if you are going to be making some bets here tonight, just check out this channel here on Mayo Media Network, this video just before puck drop. I don't know if anyone caught, but I jumped in there and I said, do not bet Carolina when I saw they were going to rest their entire defensive squad against Nashville and just hang Peter Mrazek out to dry, which, guys, makes me think, a conversation for another day, I think Nedeljkovic could be that game one starter. I definitely think that he should be the game one starter. I think we're going to see him throughout the playoffs as Carolina makes the run. But keep an eye on these guys that are going to sit when we're given these picks. But as of now, Toronto, Edmonton, Vegas by 2, Colorado by 2, and then St. Louis and Minnesota under. It does seem a little chalky there, but some of those teams have something to play for. And then I really do feel like Montreal will be resting some players tonight. And Colorado and Vegas, I think, will just bring it. But I think it is a shot prop night. I said this before a few times. When these guys are just playing, I think there's just more security for your money, your hard-earned dollars. Matthews, 3.5 shots. Yes. Marchessault over 2.5 shots, or Tuck, whatever way you want to go. Both of those guys are completely in play. Kaprizov over 2.5 shots as well. McDavid a 2-point night. Matthews a 2-point night. And McKinnon a 2-point night. Matthews plus 165 for 2-point night. It's unbelievable. 16 points over a current 7-game point streak against the Sens. And then McKinnon plus 120. He'd be my least favorite. I would go McDavid and Matthews. But you could parlay those three together, those three superstars. That'd be a decent little payout for you. So good luck. Thanks to Neil, N.A. Parker 77, does some fantastic work. A great follow on Twitter if you are a Pucks fan. And we'll get him on again in the near future, and Matty Best as well. Thanks, guys. This has been a blast. This is the last show, Matt. Just going to do some solo stuff and maybe a preview.
I think for us on Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, this is our last one of the regular season. That'll be we tape in the morning for a live amount of time. But Meaney's going to have he's going to have a show for you on Friday for the single game slate. Some picks, some bets there, DraftKings, all that kind of fun stuff. And Matt and DJ are going to be doing it on Tuesdays and Thursdays still. Griff on Saturdays as well. But we'll have content for you in the playoffs. Just stay locked in here at the Mayo Media Network.
As always, Mayo will take care of you. Neil, always a pleasure, man. Thanks, buddy, for taking the time today. Good luck today with some of your picks. Enjoy the hockey, and you guys as well. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. The boys will be back tomorrow, and we'll be back on Friday to do a little single action between the Jets and the Leafs. Have a good one. Cheers.
Thanks, Meaney.